Hey folks, Dr. Rowe here. I hope you're all well. It's sunny, but rather brisk day actually. I came out to do some filming with a t-shirt on. I brought my jacket thinking I wouldn't need it, and oddly enough it's actually quite cold. Just thought I'd do a short message. Obviously we've had an update from Boris at the weekend, announcement about the changes or the next step for us in terms of COVID, and with that has come some relaxation in terms of what type of people can go out to work. And one of the areas, of course, previously has been a challenge was for people who are working on sites, builders, self-employed people that can't work from home. So that, Wednesday officially, if I'm correct, is when the changes sort of relax off. But the key thing I want to make a point of here is, if you're a property investor, and already this has started happening for us, is that if you've got projects that have been on hold, this is a really good time now to be talking to your builders. I know everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen, but actually we've already been having discussions with people. I mean, some of you know my house has been worked on, it's been on hold, and I was speaking to my builder yesterday, and he tells me it's kind of gone, his phone's just gone crazy. And also he's been speaking to some other people in the trade, and activity's picking up. So builders, tradesmen are definitely looking to get out. I know carpenters, chippies, electricians are reaching out to see which projects that they can get back onto, because ultimately their income's just dropped. And for many of them it's frustrating because especially if you're in a business where money's tight, or you're reliant on that income coming in from the work you're doing, it's important to get back out and doing that. So one thing that I'm mindful of, and I think it's worth looking at from a property investment perspective, is if you've got properties that are currently empty, that are not being tenanted because the tenants have left the property during the COVID period, particularly if you've got HMOs and they've decided to go back to their homes, their families maybe. It might be that you've got properties that have got students in them, and those students have left and decided to go home. I feel it's a good opportunity to at least go and see if there's any work to be needed done on those properties. Certainly when you're running a property portfolio and tenants are in there, it can be a bit tricky if there's certain works, renovation, repairs to be done. It can be done, of course, but it does make it a bit trickier. Whereas at the moment, what we have is a potential situation where it might be that some of your properties are either empty or partially empty. The tenants aren't there because they've moved back to their own families, and the builders are able to go out now and start to do work in certain locations. So there might be a possibility, and again you'd have to check this out, an opportunity to get that work done now prior to your tenants moving back in. Whereas if they move back in the next weeks or months ahead, then it might be more tricky getting the builders back out again. So these are just thoughts I'm sharing with you, because we're doing the same thing with our own portfolio at the moment. And that is establishing, number one, are there works to be done on your properties? If those properties are partially or completely empty right now, it makes sense to see if your builders are able to go out and do that work ahead of your tenants coming in. That saves you a bit of a delay then when they do come back in. Also, what about supply? So that's the other thing is, so for example, we've got some stuff where there's wood to be delivered. We've got some wood that needs to be sitting in the property before it can be fitted. So although we've got joiners and chippies wanting to come in and fit things, they can't come and fit them before the materials are delivered to site. That's wood, because of the flooring, etc., and the roofing. But I mean, even other things, we now know suppliers will hopefully be opening up, but there's going to be a rush on these supplies. So if you're aware of things that you or your builders need, it actually makes a lot of sense to find out what is available, what's in stock, start planning ahead, so that you don't get people to site. And I've seen this before, where people have come back onto site after a period and the materials aren't there, and now you've got labour costs, but you don't have the materials for them to actually finish the work. So you've got standing time, or you've got them doing work that's non-essential. So it's really me just thinking ahead and saying, okay, what can be done on any of the sites where there's potentially work to be done, where I can get my builders talking to me, to my suppliers, and making sure that that's all in order. And I think the other thing is, just on a personal level, is look at your portfolio, find out maybe, are there tenants that you've got in your properties that now, because the rules have relaxed off, they are potentially in a position to pay. Maybe they can go back out and start working again, which means you may be in a position to start receiving full rent again. I know certainly in a few of our properties, I've heard just this week that contracts have been reissued to certain tenants, so that's great. That they're going to get some income, which is brilliant, and it means they're hopefully going to be in a position to start paying full rent again. So it's just, look, none of us really know how it's going to pan out over the next week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. We're very much open to government announcements, what the science is telling us and what the changes are. But I personally think we're still a couple of months away from any slight sign of real normality. But I do think we should be anticipating, we should be planning ahead. I don't think the best way to react is a knee-jerk reaction when everything happens. So I'm just giving you my thoughts on that. Certainly that's the situation we're in at the moment. We're just looking ahead and anticipating things. Okay, I'm going to sign out. It's a lovely day. I'm going to go get some lunch and see my